Are you ready? Did you light the candle? Okay, let's start the ritual. Welcome to Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I'm your host, Rachel. This is a space where truth gets its voice back because shame loses its power when we speak to it. Here, we don't skip the hard parts. We sit with them and we learn to hold ourselves inside them. This podcast is ritual in audio form, a way for us to bring intention and intuition back into our everyday. Let's dig into our roots and go deep. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Intuitively Wild, the podcast. So excited to be here, and I am here with my mom. So what this episode is going to be is I asked on Instagram if anyone had any questions that they wanted to ask me about work, personal, literally anything. And I compiled a couple, and we're gonna touch on a few. Most of them that I chose are related to each other in some way, and then one is for me and my mom, because I also added in a second question box that said my mom will be here, so if you want to ask her or us anything, feel free. Most of these are related to Intuitively Wild, but my mom is here, and I wanted her to be in the video because I much prefer doing podcasts with her versus by myself. And I think she'll have some things to add. And it's just fun. It's just
Shall see. I have not read any of the questions, so it's going to be very curious.
So I have my phone because I have my questions on here. And we're going to start with the first one. Well, I'm going to do four. Um, and the first two are very related to each other, but slightly different takes on the same question. So I'll start there. And I chose these first three questions because through these questions, I realized that there obviously are a lot of new people to the podcast, especially, but into Intuitively Wild in general, who don't know that much about how I started, because I actually started Intuitively Wild, I mean, like 4 years ago now.
Mhm.
I mean, I even more maybe, well, because I first started the blog.
22, I think it was
Yeah,
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I first came up with the name Intuitively Wild, and it started with a blog. So that was 4 years ago, and then it's kind of evolved since then, obviously. It's evolved a lot. So, but a lot of people don't know that backstory, so we'll touch on some of that. Okay, so the first two questions. Well, someone said, can you do an episode on what it's like to open a business? Interested in general logistics of what it is like to open your own space. It's something I think I would like to do at some point, but also seems so daunting, especially doing it alone. And someone else said, tell us about the journey to knowing you wanted to open up your space. So they're kind of different questions, but you can see why they're similar. So I think I'll start with tell us about the journey to knowing you wanted to open up your space. That feels like a good place to start.
Absolutely. I'd like to hear.
Um, yeah, let's see. It has been such an evolution. I mean, a big theme, if you know me, and probably even if you don't, I am very intuitively led. So I it wasn't necessarily like a full thought out plan or something that I knew I was going to do. I had for a while um had I've had this vision of my life and where I think things are going to, or where I intuitively feel things will evolve to in the future, and part of that involved a physical space, but that vision is not possible for me yet, and felt so far in the future that I thought it wouldn't be something I would do for a long time. I was focused just on a virtual business. So I guess I can backtrack even more. I'm kind of all over the place. But so started the blog in 2022, which was really started out of this desire to start sharing my writing more. And after years of being very internal, I had been fully off social media for like 4 years, because after I graduated college, I deleted all social media and moved to Hawaii and lived kind of off the grid in certain ways. And also went through a period of a lot of independence, solo traveling, very much on my own, doing my own thing. Also, recovery and treatment, and that was a whole journey. And while doing that, I was doing lots of yoga trainings and my herbalism training and human design, and cultivating all this knowledge. And then a new chapter started, and I felt like I was being called to share more with the world.
Right.
And so when I moved to England for my herbal apprenticeship, I also started this blog. And then after some time, uh, after just a couple of months, I decided, I realized that if you're just posting on a blog that no one knows about, like no one's going to read it. So in theory, it sounded nice to start a blog, and that would have been great, but I wasn't sharing it with anyone. So um, if I actually wanted to align with my intention, it took a little bit more courage. So I decided to start an Instagram account. And that, yeah, so all of these steps kind of, and eventually, I started my online business and was selling products and doing human design readings and yoga therapy sessions and herbalism sessions and all that kind of stuff. I started to realize I really wanted to work with people in a more cohesive and immersive way. So I didn't want to do just one-off sessions, and I didn't want to do just human design readings or just yoga therapy sessions. I really wanted to combine them all and work with people longer term. So that started the mentorship, and I thought that would kind of be that. When I knew I needed to shift something in my business, I thought that would be it. And I thought that I would just be working virtually with people in this different way, and that would hopefully solve some of the struggles I was feeling in regards to my business. But something still wasn't feeling quite right. Um, and I realized that what I really wanted, or what I really felt like I was called to do, was in-person community. And I just had this moment where I was like, I need to do this. Like I need to start a physical business. I was just driving down the road where I used to live before I moved to this area. Um, and I saw, because, okay, grew up in New York, moved away for about 10 years, moved to a town called Rhinebeck in upstate New York, and lived there for a couple of months. And then I moved to this area when I found this space for my business. So when I was living in Rhinebeck, I was driving down the street and I saw um, a a business with a for rent sign in the window, and all of a sudden I had this full body knowing of I need to start a business.
Right. I remember that day.
Oh my, yeah, it was like, and that's how a lot of things happen for me. Like I just get hit with this intuitive knowing of this is what I need to do, and I need to do it now. Um,
But it feels like it just came from nowhere, but all this was leading to that.
yes, I think that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that, I mean, was all
Long-winded
sort of
point I'm trying
incremental.
to make is that it felt like it came out of nowhere, but it really did not at all come out of
Not at
nowhere. It
all.
was it was little things adding up to each other, and this, because even like since since the first day I started my business, I knew I was walking towards something, and each transition and step I took was taking me closer, but still nothing felt quite right.
Right.
And I was feeling every day I would finish the work day and be like, I'm not like this is not it. Like I know I want my own business, but like like something's wrong. Something's off. Like I just couldn't quite put my finger on it. And it was just like this itch I couldn't scratch. But anyway, so that day I was driving down the street and I saw that sign. I was like, even though I had had that quiet knowing in the back of my head that this was something that, or opening a physical space was something that was going to happen in the future, in that moment, I was like, okay, I can't do that version yet, but I can do this version and it has to happen now. Like
Mm,
it's time now. Um, and that started the process of starting to look for spaces. That space didn't pan out, but then I started looking all over the Hudson Valley and was really open to anywhere and that felt right. And I looked all over, and I looked in areas that on the surface might have seemed like the perfect spot, like Woodstock and Saugerties, Kingston, New Paltz. Like I looked everywhere, but nothing felt quite right. And it wasn't until I walked into this space in High Falls that I felt that feeling, that knowing. Um, yeah, and I think part of it was I like I said, I traveled for a long time, and everywhere I went, I some places I went with the openness to stay there fully, um, but there was no place I landed in and was like, I know I'm meant to be here for a
mm,
long time until I moved up to upstate New York.
mhm.
Um, and so also the decision to put down roots and like really commit to being in one place
Right.
was a big decision for me and very scary. Um, and so and opening this space is really like the biggest commitment I've ever made. Um, and part of I feel like part of my travels, and especially, traveling by myself, like everywhere I've went, I have always looked. One of my favorite pastimes is going to little cute coffee shops and cafes and, yoga studios and all these kinds of things, and kind of trying to find a community in a place that felt like it was home or like it was what I needed and was looking for. And I really was never able, maybe a little bit here and there, like one layer of it, but not, I was never fully able to find what I needed and what I wanted. And um, so I decided to make it.
And I think, yes, you did. And I think all the while, while all this life experience is happening and formulating, you are getting deeper into, through your own sort of commitment to always deepening your self-awareness. You are getting deeper into knowing your own strength and your own path and strengthening that intuition that is a gift you have, but you work also, you're so devoted to practices that that connect you to it even more deeply. So I think that I just want to add that, like, while all this sort of logistic movement was happening, you were doing so much interior work always.
Oh my God, so much.
But I think that with that gave you, you know, the confidence to say, I need to create what it is that I've been looking for. Like, I can be the curator of that.
Yeah, and that took me a really long time. I don't think I ever really, I have two things to say. One is that I for a long time, and still sometimes, I felt like I was so behind in work and in certain aspects of my life. And one thing that keeps me from spiraling down that loophole now is that I do know with confidence I needed every single experience I had in the past to be able to do what I'm doing now. And I can only show up fully for Intuitively Wild, for a community, for others in the way that I can now because I did have the past experiences that I had that led me to this point.
Because the person who asked the question and used the word daunting in one of the two questions you read, that's a very apt word to describe this. I mean, being just an observer and a supporter by your side, but you doing it. It is daunting. And I think it requires just radical, self-confidence and courage.
Well, that's the other part of the question that I'm
Okay,
going to get to in a second, but
okay.
I mean they're very related because I sometimes I just have to not think about it. I just have to do it.
Yeah.
Like I just my intuition tells me to do it. Okay, here we go. Like I don't really know what I'm doing or what's going on, but this is what apparently is happening. Um, and if I do get if you get too in your head about it, you won't do it.
Exactly.
Um,
It has been, yeah. I mean, I could speak for hours about how incredible it has been to, be a spectator of your journey.
mm.
But
I feel like I was gonna say something else.
sorry, did I
No, you're fine. But we can. I think that that leads into. So, this first question, tell us about the journey to knowing you wanted to open up your space. I hope I answered that. Um,
think so.
but I think more of the answer will come in the second question. Um, what it's like to open a business, interest in general logistics of what it's like to open your own space. It's something I think I would like to do at some point, but also seems so daunting, especially doing it alone. I have so much to say about this. One, I'm not sure you want me to come. I'm not sure you want to come to me for business advice. I'm still very much figuring it out, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm truly making it up as I go.
Well, that's not true.
It's
You
kind
have
of
quite a good
true.
idea of what you're doing, but it's
In
been a
some
learning curve.
ways, it's been such a learning curve. I mean, okay, when it comes to logistics, like taxes, I still every time I do my taxes, I'm like, maybe I'll like get arrested for tax fraud. Tax fraud, like I don't know.
It's all new territory.
Yeah. Not that I'm like trying to commit tax fraud. I just mean I have no idea what I'm doing. Um,
There's so many moving parts.
yeah, yeah, and that's what when it interest in general logistics, but also I don't think I can give advice because also knowing where this person lives is probably so different. But every business is so different. I think it's also been interesting because many people I talk to, um, when I'm trying to do my taxes or like getting insurance or stuff like that, are like, "What's your business?" Like, this falls under this category, but that falls under that category. So it logistically, it's been interesting trying to navigate, figuring out how to categorize my business for these kinds of systemized things. Um, so there's that part of it. And also, again, I really am just following my intuition in the sense that I, I, and a big part of this is, how I work with energy and human design helps me with a lot of this, but it's like sometimes something comes my way and I feel like I am supposed to do it right then, but I physically cannot make myself do it. And then all of a sudden, either it's just the timing or someone comes, like something happens. I'm like, oh, time to do this. Like I'm ready and I need to do this right now. And then when I
And
need to
then
do
she
it
doesn't
right
wait.
now, I need to do it right
Right,
now.
right.
Um, and I
It's,
really am like, I could not be less of a procrastinator. So I know if there's something that I'm fighting myself to do, it just means that I'm not supposed to do it yet. Um, because when I'm meant to do it, I will do it. So logistically, that's a big way that I've been navigating things. I need to look at the question again.
well, also she mentioned something, but sorry,
No,
I
no,
just
you
want to
please.
put in one thing about, doing it alone feels overwhelming.
Mm,
You can speak on that because that ideally would not have been at your choice.
no, no, I have a lot to say to that. One, I'm not doing it alone. I would not be able to do this without the support I've had and primarily my parents. Like and my mom's an entrepreneur as well. She has her own private practice, and my dad especially, he has his own law firm in the city, so he has been so helpful. And if I were doing it completely by myself, it would have been even more challenging. So there's that piece of it. And then also, what was I gonna say?
Just about, but you didn't have a partner like,
Oh, yeah. My mom's speaking to the fact that I really did like my dream of all dreams is was to do this with a partner. Um, which is still something I want, but that's a whole other
that's another podcast.
that's a whole other conversation. Don't ask me about that. So we're not going to talk about it. Um, yeah. And that's honestly one reason why I thought it wouldn't happen as soon as it did, because I thought there would be another way that I would do it. So, yeah, doing it by yourself is really challenging. 100%. I mean, I think there are pros and cons to doing it by
Mm,
yourself versus doing it with either a friend or a romantic partner or just, you know,
a business
a business
partner.
partner in any capacity. Um, yeah, I've talked to a lot of people and there's definitely pros and cons to it. And I'm into the wild. When I say, I mean, I think I want to be specific because I always knew I didn't want to do it. Mm, this is where I'm like, how much do I share? Because I'm also a very private person. But I guess the people who listen to the podcast are like the real. I always thought I'd do it with a romantic partner. So that for me specifically, that like I never, not, I'm not. I always wanted intuitively to be fully mine. So I didn't feel intuitively like I was meant to do it with a business partner or a friend or anything like that. So um, but with that being said, it's very challenging and overwhelming to do it by yourself, absolutely, especially because I'm not good at every aspect of it. You know, like I don't think I'm the one who's meant to do the marketing. I don't think I'm the one who's, meant to do the taxes. Like I don't so it's
And yet you've been doing it all.
I've been doing it all for better
And
or for
very,
worse.
very well.
I've been doing my best, but again, I still don't feel like I'm the one who's meant to do the marketing and the taxes. So, um, but yeah, I don't have an answer to your question because it is daunting. Um, but, and that's why I really think work is hard. If you're like, if you, there are aspects to every single job that are challenging or at least frustrating. And so I think you have to choose your hard and choose your frustrating, choose your challenge. There are, even though, okay, maybe it's not work for you, maybe, but there's a part of life for everyone that is challenging and hard. I think if it's worth it, it's worth it. And you have to really, 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 really want your business to succeed. Like you have
Right.
to really care, you have to really be devoted to it and be willing to sacrifice things.
And have a clear vision.
Yeah. And when it comes to clear vision, sometimes like I don't always know and haven't always known exactly how Intuitively Wild was going to land. And there's still things that I'm like open to it evolving. But I'm clear in the
The
important
over,
parts.
the framework, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah. I'm clear in the framework, I'm clear in the values, I'm clear in my promise to myself. Like say for example, someone comes to me and has an idea that I wasn't anticipating being a part of the space. I stay, but makes sense. I stay open and check in with my intuition and see how it feels.
right.
Um, but yeah, if you aren't willing, like if you're not willing to pour yourself into it, I would not recommend starting your own
I would
business.
agree with that.
Um,
100%.
yeah, and it definitely takes sacrifice. Like I work on the weekends.
It's all encompassing, at least at this
Oh,
point.
I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
So yeah,
I am intuitively wild. Like I don't know what.
well, that's true on many levels.
Yeah, yeah. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I love it. I that's what I
Well,
want,
that's
and that's the only reason why I'm okay with it. That's the only
right.
reason why I'm doing okay. I would have
And that's
given
the
up already.
necessary ingredient, loving it so passionately.
No, I would
Plus, if
have
you
given
did,
up already if I liked it even 1% less.
exactly. I would agree with that.
So I'm not sure if I gave you the logistic business advice that you were searching for, but I guess if I would say if you are devoted to it, this is something you really want to start your own business. I would find at least one person who can support you or give you some sort of advice on the parts that are really hard for you, whether that's taxes or whether that's insurance or, like whatever it is for you. I would find someone who is willing to sit down with you even for free for 5 minutes
Right.
to talk through some things with, because there are parts, everyone's is going to be different, but there are going to be parts that are really important that you get right to some capacity and that are really hard to do by yourself.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything to
I think you covered it
add? Okay.
very well.
And then the third question, which again is kind of similar, and I feel like certain parts of it we touched on, but when, why, and how did you decide to start the podcast? So I started the podcast almost like over 3 years ago. Um, and again, it was kind of that evolution of starting the blog, starting social media, starting my own business, like this opening up to the world more after years of being inwards. And during my whole, for years, podcasts have been something that I turn to.
Mhm.
Even though I could go days without talking to anyone else, I always listened to podcasts, and that did bring me a sense of connection. And also, I love learning. Podcasts were really something that I relied on for in certain seasons of my life. And I also, and it was something I secretly always wanted to do, but never felt like I would be able to do, because I didn't think that was, and I didn't think
Because of that limiting voice you had
yeah,
inside.
I felt like I wouldn't be able to figure out the technology, like I wasn't cool enough, no one would listen, like what's the point, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I also have been on a journey simultaneously woven into my journey of coming out more to the world was finding my voice more. And for a long time, I had really shut down my voice for many different reasons and kept it very quiet and small and didn't stand up for myself, didn't speak out. Um, and oh, stepping into my voice more was one of the most healing things I ever did. And a big part of that, I don't think I knew it at the time, but it was starting the podcast. Um, and so I think it was a really big part of my healing and a part of owning who I am and what I want. And yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the podcast also, so when you host it, you, go ahead.
No, no, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that was another big part of it was that it also was, I really wanted to have a space because at this time my business was all online. I still very much didn't have a lot of community, and I wanted a space to start having conversations with people in that most of the world tells us we shouldn't
That's right.
talk about.
And that was really something phenomenal to listen to the way in which you engaged other people and the depth of the conversations that you had with people. It was really so,
You're saying it like the past tense.
well, you still know, but like when it started,
Okay.
oh my gosh, it's only gotten better and better. But I mean, the early days, listening to you as the interviewer of somebody else, and every single person would talk about how, you know, no one's ever asked me that before, or, you've made
Okay,
me
thank
feel
you.
so
I think it's
comfortable
also
and trusting. Okay, uh, I think it's important to be said. You're not going to say it, so I am going to say that aspect of you um, being so perceptive and going beneath the surface in a way where other people felt safe and welcomed it and wanted to do it and felt so seen and heard, I think you were discovering this other gift that you are a tremendous interviewer.
Um, I appreciate that. Thank you. It's
True.
interesting because I still don't see it as interviewing, and that in fact, like I'm trying to lean away from that more and more. Like I
If
want
it's
it to
like
be a
conversational.
conversation.
Yes.
Um,
Feels that way.
yeah, because and I try to say that to guests honestly before we talk, like before we start, is like I just want this to be a conversation because um but I think yeah, it has helped me. It was part of the path to opening this business because it was one of the first moments of having these conversations with more people
Right.
um for the first time in a
And
long
it did
time.
feel like you were building community.
Yeah, no,
You really
absolutely.
did.
Yeah,
It had that
it was
feeling.
starting to it did help me even though it was on, at
Or
it was virtual and the people I was started like they were all over. It very much felt like I was starting to cultivate some sort of community, and also was sharing more with more people about Intuitively Wild, and that visibility aspect in the sense of like just allowing myself to be seen more was huge for me. That's still, something I work on, but it
and
was
then
really hard at first.
right. And then with the tea conversations, then some people would come,
Yeah, so now I do tea time talks, and
tea time talks.
the difference between the ones that are in conversation versus tea time talks is the in conversation ones are still online and the tea time talks are in person. And to me, I don't know if it's noticed. I still like to keep the difference in the title because, and I don't know if it's noticed as much to other people, but to me, it feels so different when I interview people in person when I talk to people in person versus when I talk to them online. Like just the energy of being in person with
Yeah,
someone, it feels so different. And yeah. So
it's
obviously,
very
I
special.
want it to feel like we're sitting down for tea, even when we're having a conversation on over, you know, over Zoom that we're recording. Um, it's it still doesn't compare to when we're actually having that conversation in person. So
Yeah.
So that is why I started the podcast. That's when I started the podcast. How, how did you decide? I think I answered that. Yeah, yeah. And then the technology pieces, again, I really just made it up as I went.
You took to that
Well, I think it just speaks,
so quickly, I was blown
I
away.
would like to say that this just speaks to the timing piece and trusting your intuition because I I just had this, I can't remember, like, I was just like, I'm doing it.
All of a sudden, you had all this
And then I just
equipment.
got the equipment.
I couldn't believe it. Was like you had this studio, this recording
Oh, I didn't have
studio.
a recording studio.
No, you don't have a
Got
recording
on my
studio,
phone.
but
But
it just felt that way. It
but
was
truly, and a lot of people ask me like, how did you figure out what I can't, I just had this, I was, well, it really, this isn't obviously like how it actually happened, but it was like an idea sitting in the back of my head for a long time, something I always wanted to do, felt like I couldn't. One day I woke up and I was like, I'm doing like I want to do a podcast. And I just like got, and I had done, like I'm a researcher, like I had done the research on the best equipment, but by that time I knew what it was I wanted to get.
right.
You know what I mean? Um,
I think if it to concretize some of what you're saying for other people, it's the intentionality. If you and the clarity of knowing you do have to put in the work and the research, but if you have that full body commitment to this is what I want to do, this is what I need to do, these are the mechanisms, I'll figure it out. And when I need to ask questions, I will. I mean, I think that, but it's being very laser focused on the objective.
yeah, and trusting yourself. Like if there's something that
Absolutely.
you want to do, trust yourself to figure it out. If there's something you want to do but you aren't yet feeling like, I think there's a difference between procrastinating and just the timing not being right yet,
Right.
and it's important to be graceful with yourself with the difference.
And all your rituals that help you stay grounded. and intuitive, I think also are very, would you say, very helpful, because you do have to quiet the noise
Yeah.
that is incessant.
Yeah. That's the only
Right.
way I'm alive right now. Not kidding.
Thank goodness.
No, truly. I mean, yeah. Because otherwise the noise does get really loud and either you won't trust yourself or you won't do the thing or you'll get caught up in the things you need, like needing to do. Yeah. Anyway.
So the viability of intuitively wild in and of itself is a manifestation of everything you talk about in terms of how
Yeah.
critical the rituals are, right? It's all
It's all connected. Okay. Let's move on to the last question.
okie doke.
This is for both of us.
Okay.
What would be your number one piece of advice for a mom who has a daughter from you both?
Oh,
Obviously, I'm not a mom who has a daughter, but I'll still try to answer this.
oh, wow. I mean, I don't know if it's just a mom to a daughter or a mom in general, but yeah, since you come as a mother to a daughter, you come from a place of having been a daughter, whereas a mother to a son, you weren't the son. So yeah, I think to develop, I'm assuming, I don't know if it's okay to do that, that the question is coming from a desire to have a close and, you know, a close knit and relationship. And I think that it can be challenging because it can be fraught with, when we talk about this, with emotions that are residual from perhaps unresolved things from your, even if you had a wonderful relationship growing up with your own mother as a daughter, maybe certain things were not totally sorted out, and then they get played out in how you are responding to your own daughter. So I think this is bringing me to probably a very important point, which is to be very clear that that your daughter, as much as she may remind you of yourself, your mother, you and your mother, is her own unique self and brings to the relationship her own unique human design, her own unique personality, and then that brings, a dynamic that it can have lots and lots of resemblances to your history with your own mother, but it's its own synergy and its own phenomenon. And I think that the best gift you can give your daughter is to see her, I don't get see her as who she is without projecting onto her any, again, I use the word residual, or any of your own either expectations or fantasies or fears, but to see her for who she is and to accept, first and foremost, to accept, but so much more, to celebrate that in all of its complexity. And if she feels seen for who she is and loved and adored for who she is, exactly the way she is, I think that builds a foundation for a really relationship that's so magical that I can't even put into words. But I think it takes, the mother paying attention to tendencies to imbue the daughter with traits or feelings that may not be hers, that may be coming from you. So it does, I think, ask of the mother to know her own self very, very well so that she can enter and cultivate the relationship with such openness and acceptance. And it's an ongoing process, but if talk about being worth it, there's nothing more rewarding in life than the kind of closeness you can develop and maintain with your daughter, that and then you end up learning so much from her.
Yeah, beautiful. Mine is actually really similar. I think there are two parts. One, being fully present with your daughter and allowing her to be exactly who she is, and attuning to her needs in each moment, each day, and allowing that to change, and not, like you said, projecting onto her who you think she should be or who you are or what you know um, the world tells her she should be, but really just being so present with who she is and being curious about that. And I think the ability to do that comes from knowing yourself and being really, truly confident in yourself and truly liking yourself, loving yourself, accepting yourself, because that's the only way that you can allow her to be her full self. So taking the time to continue to know yourself and be present with yourself.
And that's very, 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 I love everything you just said. And that last part is so key, is that it will, motherhood in general breaks open if there are unresolved wounds, which we all have by just being born, and we can have the most loving parents ever. There's no child that doesn't at some point experience a wounding, inadvertent. That's another podcast about what that's about, but there are, and unless you have, it's really, really important. Obviously, I'm biased, I'm a therapist, but I'm a mother and a daughter. And I can tell you that working through any kind of unresolved emotional wounds from your past with your own mother is an essential component to developing that kind of groundedness and confidence to be able to be fully present and open and appreciative of your daughter's unique magic.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing I want to add is also teaching your daughter to have a truly healthy relationship with herself, with her body,
Yes.
with food,
Yes.
with movement, with how she shows up in relationships,
Yes.
being confident, speaking up for herself, learning to have a healthy relationship with work and with joy and with play and creativity and yeah, and you do that by in a large way by embodying that within yourself.
Right.
So you having a good relationship with your body, speaking kindly to yourself, having a good relationship with food, you speaking up for yourself, you allowing yourself to rest and feel joy, and
That's right.
staying committed to the rituals and practices that you really love.
Because she's watching you every step of the way,
watching
from the very get-go.
Yeah.
She's watching you.
She is
So,
watching you.
but it's a gift.
Yeah. But I think that's a good place to end. Um, I love you so much, Mommy. And I will say that every mom and daughter will have their mistakes and mess up. And part of what makes this bond so strong is being able to talk about that.
That's right.
So, and if you need support, we have our mother and daughter circle.
Well, we'd love to meet you
Yeah, we
and
will.
talk about it further and hear your stories. And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thank
Thank
you all
you.
so much for being here. If you have more questions, we can do a Q&A like this again.
This was great.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Intuitively Wild, the podcast. I hope it helped deepen your connection to yourself, sparked some insights, and inspired you to live intuitively wild. If you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with others and leave a rating and review. And please reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I will see you next time for more magic.